Now, the question that I have today on the first episode of Ask Coach Keon is, hey, Coach Keon, how do I stay motivated to keep going after losing so much? I'm drained. I'm flawed. I keep trying to build after failing so much, but I feel like I'm not doing it with any prevail. How can you help me, please? All right, that's a great question. I want to start off by saying this. First, we have to identify the enemy within. You have to identify the enemy that you're battling with, because so many times we're battling enemies and sometimes we could potentially be winning, but because we haven't identified the enemy, we don't even know what we're fighting for. So you conquer this enemy into what prevail. You still feel like you're running in circles. You feel like you're running on a treadmill. You're running 10 miles and never even left the room. So you're busy. Your mind is so overwhelmed, you're so overstimulated. So what do you do next? It's always going to be the mentality. What you do next is you have to identify the enemy that you're battling, and you have to identify the blessing that's attached to the enemy that you're battling. Sometimes you're battling other people's enemies. Sometimes you're battling stress from people that you let into your life. Sometimes you're battling stress that has nothing to do with you. You're battling enemies that is not even meant for you. God didn't send that enemy to you. You just jumped into somebody else's battle, kind of got nosy, and here you are. So you have to identify your enemy, and you have to identify the blessing that's going to come from battling the enemy that you have to battle. Throw away all the battles that you have that's not yours. Throw away all the battles that you jumped into. Throw away all the battles that you feel like you're fighting because your friend is fighting or your loved one is fighting. Sometimes you have to be fully equipped to be able to battle for yourself before you can vouch for somebody else's battle. And if you never do that, just be willing to understand that you will battle and battle and battle and feel like you're not prevailing at all because you've stepped into somebody else's battle and you haven't even begun to battle for yourself. So you have to identify the enemy that you're battling for yourself, identify the blessing that comes within that, and then eliminate every other battle that you're battling that has nothing to do with you. I'm not saying eliminate it forever, because if you one of them real ones, you're going to feel like, hey, when the homie down, I got a battle too. And I understand that. But right now you have to be able to focus on yourself and focus on building the strength and the tenacity that's necessary, because if you can't fill your own cup, even if you're battling for somebody else or battling with somebody else, your battle is going to be in vain and your power is going to be insignificant. So the first thing that you have to do is identify the enemy within that you're battling, and then everything else has to be eliminated in this season of your life.